Hello. So what we're going to do now is we are going to practice a small little lab storing and retrieving a file using S3. S3 is one of the storage services within AWS. It's one of the more popular services. It's one of the first services I believe AWS came out with. So this is what we're going to start with. It's the first thing that I started learning whenever I started exploring AWS. So what I'm going to do is get my situation set up. So what I have here, I like to have two different browser windows. I do not like to do a split screen on the console because you just don't see as much stuff. And this one's not so bad, but you just don't see as much stuff, but everybody has their own preference. I'd rather hit Alt Tab, have a PC. I'd rather hit Alt Tab to go back and forth between the instructions and the lab, the console, whatever works best for you. If you have two monitors, great. But if you're like me right now in a one monitor situation, this is my preference. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I'll send you the link, but this is basically just step-by-step tutorial. Will help you store your files in the cloud using S3, which is S3 is a service that enables you to store your data, which is referred to as objects at a massive scale. And in this tutorial, I'm going to create an S3 bucket, upload a file, retrieve the file, and delete the file. So if I had to guess, I'd say these instructions do not match the interface. And again, that's just the reality of it. That's just something you got to get used to. So what we're going to do, okay, something else to note, these instructions are not built for the lab. So that's another reason I'm going over it. If there's anything that does not work for the lab because it's a lab and a little bit more protected environment, that's what I'm going to go over with you. And also if the instructions don't match, which is probably going to happen. Let's see. So this says here to click here to go to the console. We're not going to do that because we already have it open in our lab. Okay, so what we're going to do first, going to go to S3. And like I said earlier, I tend to just type in what I'm looking for, S3, click on S3. Okay, so this is the S3 dashboard. And, it just basically has all the resources and services you're going to need with S3. Feel free to watch this video to learn a little bit more about S3. I'm not sure how long it is, but it's a lot of information. It's a lot of new things. So you're going to have to take the time to, go over and read it a little bit and maybe a little bit more on some things beyond what I go over with you in these videos. So we're S3. Going to create an S3 bucket. So what we're going to do, let's go ahead and create a bucket. So let's see, in this first time using you have created a bucket, you will see a screen that looks like the image pictured. Okay. Okay, so I would not recommend putting too much faith into the pictures that they show because it may not match. You just kind of have to read it, like what it wants you to do and what that looks like right now. So we've already created the bucket. Okay, so now we're going to, like right here, the image they show does not match the console now. So the created the bucket, it talks a little bit about how the bucket name has to be unique. So it's not just unique for you. It's not just unique for your region. It's unique out of everybody in the entire world who's got an AWS account. They cannot be the same. So that's kind of annoying. But it is what it is. So bucket name, second demo, AWS, NCUS, and see if that takes. So we're going to keep it in North Virginia, US East 1. Like I was saying earlier, everything we do is US East 1. Everything, US East 1. And let's see, what's it asking us to do now? Okay, so we got a name. We're choosing Oregon. We're US East 1, Virginia. Let's see. So versioning. Let's see. Okay. So again, instructions completely different than what we have here. So this is access control list. What we're going to do is just go ahead and disable it. And again, take the time to read it. But object ownership, and so basically control ownership of objects objects are basically the files written into this bucket from other AWS accounts and the use of access control list. Object ownership determines who can specify access to objects. And, these little sections have a little info blue button that gives you more information on whatever it is that they're talking about. So again, this tutorial, if you just go through the entire steps, maybe take you 5-10 minutes. But if you're trying to learn it and read it and become familiar with the terms, then you need to, slow your roll and just, kind of learn it, read it, get used to it. Okay, so let's see what the instructions say, if there's anything in the instructions we can follow. Okay, so let's talk about versioning. We haven't got to that part yet. So block public access settings for this bucket. So public access is granted to buckets and objects through access control list, bucket policies, access point policies, or all. And in order to ensure that the public access to the bucket and its objects is blocked, turn on block all. So it's already checked, block all public access. These settings apply only to the bucket and its access points. AWS recommends that you turn on block all public access, which again is checkmarked right here. But before applying any of these settings, ensure that your applications will work correctly without public access. If you require some level of public access to this bucket or objects within, you can customize, which is, in this ghosted part right here, through the individual settings. We're going to just go ahead and leave this on block all public access. And basically what that means, it's not accessible to the public. So versioning, if you're not familiar with it, is just basically the concept of, if you make an update to a file, the previous version still exists and you can do a rollback to a previous version if necessary. So you can enable it or disable it. What did they do here? We won't enable it, so we're just going to leave it at disabled. And it may not even work for being enabled within the lab. Tags are a best practice, but they are optional. I don't want to focus really on tags right now, so we're just going to kind of bypass that. Default encryption, kind of looking to see where they're at right now to try to follow along to the best that we can. Let's see. Okay, looks like that's pretty much, okay. Default encryption, disable, just for this particular, that's probably for real, you probably want to enable. But for what we're doing right now, we're just going to disable it. Advanced settings, nothing really to do there, so we're going to keep everything at default. Click create bucket, and let's see what that name that I gave it takes. Okay, good. So, it worked. So now I have a bucket named Demo AWS NCUS. It's in the US East, Northern Virginia, US East 1 region. Its bucket and objects are not available, bucket and objects are not publicly available. So according to the access, and the creation is, now. Let's see, if I click on account snapshot, there's nothing really there right now. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and click on the bucket. Okay, so we have a bucket. I kind of, whenever I first started learning this stuff, I kind of compared a bucket to a folder. And you have a folder, you have files in it. That's not 100% accurate representation of it, but for me, that helps me kind of develop a better understanding. Or you can just think of a bucket and just putting things in it, similar concepts. So what we're going to do now, let's kind of go back to the tutorial. We're going to upload a file. Let's see. So we clicked on our bucket. Now we go to upload. And did it give us a file? So we're just going to drag a file. We're just going to create one. Okay, cool. It's fine. So we're just going to go ahead and upload. And we're going to click add files. So this is going to open up. So I get this cool again. It's an MP3 file. Okay. That's just something, the first thing I had on my computer because for something else I was working on. But and S3 can take any type of object. It can take an MP3, MP4, take any kind of audio or video or image file, text file, whatever kind of file you have, S3 can accommodate. So let's see. I uploaded it and destination details. So I do not have bucket versioning enabled, which is fine. Do not have default encryption enabled, which is fine. Do not have object locked enabled, which is fine. You can see the destination is demo AWS NCUS. The permissions, the bucket has bucket owner enforced setting applied for object ownership. Use bucket policies to control access. So that's where we had everything that was block all public access or whatever it said in the beginning. And the properties. So the storage class, there's, I forgot exactly how many storage classes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, looks like 8 storage classes now within S3. And basically there's different pros and cons for each. It's usually related to how quickly you can get a file if you need it and the cost. So we'll learn more about that in the modules for S3. But just know that there's different versions and it's usually related to the differences are cost and how fast you can retrieve a file if you need it. So server-side encryption, we're not necessarily worried about that. Do not specify any kind of encryption key. Let's see, additional checksums. So we're just going to leave everything pretty much at default. We're going to click upload and it's uploading it. Green is good. We're going to go ahead and close that. Okay. So let's see what else the instructions say. Let's see. Now we're going to try to retrieve the object. So I'm going to go ahead and get back into my little breadcrumbs here, buckets. So again, to kind of recap, we're in S3. I can, click on the buckets on the far left. And I can see the buckets that I have in this particular account. See the one that we made, demo AWS NCUS. Now, fun fact, because I named mine demo AWS NCUS, you cannot name yours demo AWS NCUS. So then you just have to get creative, maybe put a number or something. It's one of the frustrating parts, but it is what it is. So what happens if I click, let me see what they want us to do. Retrieve the object. Okay. So if I click on this, okay, this gives me some information about the individual file. The owner's AWS Labs, US region, AWS region is North Virginia, US East 1. It was modified, the size, the type, the key, the URI, the ARN, not some of the stuff, you just becoming more familiar with it the more you see it. So this is the URL. So let's see what happens if I try to open it. I get an error message because it is not publicly accessible. So let's see if I can remember how to make this publicly accessible. They've changed the interface more than once. So let's see if I can remember how to do this. Go to Object Actions. I'm going to pause this while I remember how to do it. Okay, I think it was somewhere in here. Permissions. Okay, block public access, bucket settings. Go ahead and hit edit. I'm just going to uncheck that. So this is, everything is accessible. And just to confirm. Okay, I want to think there's one more step, but I could be wrong. I think I just saw it, but let me see if I'm right or wrong. So I still have this open. If I hit refresh, oh, still not. Okay, I think one more thing. Bucket policy. And let's see. Let me see if this will just work as is. I think I need to add something a little bit more to it. Okay, yeah. Okay, so let's go to policy generator. So one of the things you'll learn is about policies. Everything is accessible through a policy. And we are going to go to S3 bucket policy. It's going to be an allow. We're going to be the principal is a wildcard. S3. Let's see, get object. Where is it? Get, there we go. The ARN, it was the Amazon resource name, which is right here. So I just click on this little, yes, it copies it for me. Paste it, add statement, generate policy. Then I gotta copy this. This is kind of a tedious process. You would think they would have it better, but they don't. Paste that in here. So what this is basically did, okay, this is the policy generator. This helped me, like I filled in some of the blanks of what I want. S3, allow, had the wildcard asterisk for principal. I chose get object as my action. The service was S3 because I chose S3 up there. I copied and pasted the ARN, Amazon resource name, and it just created the statement. It just created something for me to copy and paste into here. So what this is actually, this is some JSON code. This is, you don't really need to know coding for this, but JSON, having some knowledge on JSON, be able to read it will help you. So this is the ID, it's the version, the statement. Basically, what you kind of want to look for is the action. Action was S3 get object, which was what we put in here. The effect was to allow, so it's, allowing it. The resource is the ARN number and the ARN, AWS, S3, and then my bucket name. And the principal is the wildcard. So one to think there's something else I need to do, but let's kind of just take it as is. And let's see, I wonder if this is because the lab. Okay, we want to try one more thing. Save. Yep. Okay. So you might have to kind of go back and, pause what I did. But again, I don't know why some of this stuff is, and there's probably a better way from do it. This is just the way I figured out how to do it. You do the / and the star asterisk wildcard symbol. You might have to, rewind and pause it so you can see what I did, because I can't replicate it now. But anyways, it's right here. Okay. So what I did, whenever the statement generator did not provide the / and star, so I just manually added that. And it's basically a wildcard again. So now let's see if this works now. Yes, it does. Okay. So that's pretty much it. It's kind of funny. That's not what I want to do. It's kind of funny. That's not what I want to do. Where am I at? Okay, this is where I want to be. It's kind of funny that we didn't really follow anything on the tutorial because it's dated, and it's just the reality of it. These are tutorials out there. I mean, there's not bad. It's just they're kind of hard to follow if you're not familiar with it, and you forget stuff like I do. So again, like I was saying, turn it on, turn it off. It talks about deleting it. So let's go ahead and do that. Where am I? Okay. That's not what I want. There it is. Okay, so I don't know if I have to delete the items in the bucket before deleting the bucket. We'll see. So I'm in S3, I'm in my bucket. So I want to delete this demo, the bucket. Go ahead and hit delete. Bucket is not empty. I thought so. Okay. So I got to empty my bucket and delete and follow the instructions. Permanent. Okay. Now let's go back to our bucket. Buckets. There we go. Bucket. Delete. Demo. AWS NCUS. Delete. And it was successfully deleted. So that's pretty much the lab I want you to complete. If you have any questions, let me know. You can see the instructions that, the link that I'm going to give you does not really match this, but that's fine. It's good practice for deciphering. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.